Hey guys, it's Liz here from the Nail Hub, and today's podcast, I wanted to do a little bit of a precursor to it to give it some context. I was actually doing my friend Ashley's nails the other day, and after the service was completed, we actually sat around and chit-chatted for a while, and I brought up one of the questions that I got asked in my DMs to her. She works in the marketing industry, and she's always dealing with client relationships, and so I thought it'd be really cool to get her take on this particular question. So the DM that I got basically was talking about a difficult client that this particular nail technician is really struggling with and trying to understand how to manage the situation. And so I thought I would share Ashley and I's conversation about this topic so you guys can listen in to some of our after hours chit chat about this. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I really appreciate all of you who subscribe to my podcast and to my different social media platforms. And if you guys want more information about how you can get extra education from me and extra content, check out the nailhub.tv. It's my new amazing membership-based platform where I'm building my own community and creating a lot of different, really helpful education for all of you out there. So without further ado, here's my little chat with Ashley. Okay, so this girl, she's like, I'm hitting a hard wall with one client, and it's only ever been this one client. I've had her for 3 years, and she's definitely been difficult. She's always in a rush, and she always walks out of the room and tells me to book her next appointment for her, but it can only be specific times and days. I have 70 plus clients, and it's so overwhelming when she does this because I typically have another client right after her. Sometimes I forget, and then she contacts me last minute asking when her appointment is. I'm always chasing her fills to rebalancing to new sets, and it's so stressful. Can I request a video or a reply on whether clients or nail techs are responsible for booking the appointments? I feel others might be stuck in the same spot, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong, but I feel it's the client's responsibility to book their appointments. If I'm wrong, please tell me, and how can I be better at booking her appointments? So I wrote back and I said, great topic. My personal advice, fire her. Way too much drama for what you probably make off her appointments.
Truly.
I said, I have a 3 strikes you're out rule. To me, it sounds like you need to let her go. She's like, I needed this validation. Thank you. And I said, it sounds like you're very caring and responsible with your clients, but also hold them accountable a bit. You are there to provide amazing service, but they have to book and show up ready to be a good recipient of that service.
That's right.
They have just as much of a role to play in the outcome. So some people just don't want to be that responsible. So let them go elsewhere. You can't be the best service provider if they aren't willing to be a good client. And then she goes, I appreciate this so much. It's unfortunately a friend's mom that I grew up with, and she's always walking out in a rush. I've told her multiple times I need her to book the appointments online or pre-book when she's in with me. She ends up booking, but only 2 or 3 appointments out, and then she last minute hits me up again when she realizes she doesn't have one booked next time. I'll be on the lookout for the response to this. So I actually think it's a really interesting thing, because at first I was like, okay, it's some rando, but like, how would you deal with a client that
is the mom of a friend?
Yeah.
I think you have to treat the mom of a friend the same way you would any other client. I think giving her special treatment is kind of what's gotten you into this situation.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Like, you're creating, like, would you do that for any other client? The only client you would probably do that for is someone who is just exceptional, right? But this sounds like this client is not exceptional.
Sounds like they're just annoying.
So why are you going above and beyond for them? It sounds like it's a little bit of a toxic relationship. Like, she's taking advantage.
Yeah. It sounds like she's
Do you
not
get an exceptional tip from this person? Like, is this person also going above and beyond to give you more than 20% in exchange for the fact that you help her book her appointments?
Yeah. Well, and also if you have 69 other people that are booking their appointments and this one person
It sounds like you're not desperate for her business.
No. And it sounds like she needs to be held to the same standard as everybody else.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
And I think next time she reaches out at the last minute, tell her you're booked.
Yeah, sorry, you didn't book with me.
I'm really busy, and my book is full. I'm so sorry.
If you want to book with me, you got to get on my website and book.
Or, I'm so booked, but I have a friend. Like, here's who you could go to. And that could be a great way to get her on somebody else's book who maybe needs the business more than you do.
Yeah, it's a little awkward that she's the mom of a friend, but...
Totally. But I think that's what's going to keep you stuck in that cycle, is because it's a friend, right? So, like, maybe it's better to get her off your books altogether.
Well, and you don't want it to escalate.
It can be hard to work with friends or people you know.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want it to escalate to a point where like it actually gets bad, because if it is your friend's mom and you let it get to the point where something actually goes down dramatically, that's probably worse for the relationship than if you just said like, hey, I'm so slammed, I just can't do your nails anymore.
Correct. Yeah, next time she reaches out at the 11th hour, be like, oh, I'm actually booked out for the next 3 weeks. But here's my friend so-and-so who could get you in the next couple days.
Yeah.
And then feel free to book your next appointment with me after that.
Yeah, or maybe just go to a walk-in salon where you don't even need to worry about having an appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people like that just don't want that level of responsibility. They just want to wing it every time. I'm not like that. I don't think I could have clients like that either. It's like, I like to have regular people. I like to know who's coming, when they're coming, look forward to the type of relationship I have with that person or what kind of convo we're going to have.
Totally.
I can't be bouncing around.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, it sounds like her schedule is such that maybe she does need a walk-in type of salon. That would be a better fit for her.
That much. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to fire like a client? Like,
I have.
Like where it was totally justified, but you had to like let them down easy?
I have, and it's hard every single time because even if they're the worst, I'm a people pleaser. That's the business I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, so like I'm there to make sure they have an amazing experience. And I always have empathy for their situation. So like there's always a reason why people are the way they are, right? So I start just explaining away the behavior. Mm. And then that's what keeps it going on for far too long.
Right.
But yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because I never want to make someone feel uncomfortable. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to inconvenience them. But yeah, there have been times where it's like we are at the point where it seems like this is no longer a mutually beneficial relationship. It doesn't feel like and of course I always take the responsibility. I try to make it about me and not them. Right. So it doesn't feel like I'm the right fit for your schedule, or I'm not the right fit for your needs, or, you know, this is now the third project where it sounds like you haven't really been satisfied with the quality of the work that we've given you. And I just don't feel good about continuing to take your money
if you're not satisfied.
If you're not happy with the outcome. And so, you know, even though the outcome is not totally on me,
no, but you're being diplomatic about it.
Being diplomatic, yeah. So, because you never want to burn a bridge if you don't absolutely have to.
Well, do you think that most of those people are probably just not even self-aware enough to even realize that it's their fault?
Absolutely.
So even if you told them that.
I don't think they're intentionally malicious. It is typically, from my experience, like they're just not self-aware at all. And you just never know who knows who or how they're connected with other people. And I have just found that every time I have, in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm gonna use my voice. I'm gonna stand up for myself. I'm gonna say like, this is not acceptable, and I will not take this behavior. Mm-hmm. Whenever I've tried to take that tone, it has never worked for me. Never once have I walked away from that interaction feeling good about how I showed up, feeling good about how I made the other person feel. I always walk away feeling like, man, I wish I would have just handled that differently.
Well, and I also think like it can kind of fall on deaf ears where you think you're making this big stance about, you know, self-preservation and I'm not going to let you tread all over me and whatever. And a lot of times like the person has no idea that they're treading on you. So it kind of gets real awkward where they're like, why are you freaking out?
Yes.
And then you feel worse that you brought it
up.
Because you just
seems
made
like
yourself
you're
vulnerable.
Escalating it.
Yeah. And it's like super vulnerable too. I agree with the diplomacy. I feel like there's that fine line between being diplomatic, being upfront about it, right? Not just like ghosting somebody or whatever, like actually saying something about it. But yeah, I mean, most of the time when you actually say like, you suck, why can't you book your appointments, why can't you show up, I'm tired of you, you know, like
it just never goes well.
Yeah, it never goes well.
And I go back to that my grandmother used to say it 1,000,000 times, you win more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like no matter what the scenario is, and I get that there's lots of toxic people out there who are just the worst. But you always get so much farther by being kind and being like pouring a little honey over it and just taking the responsibility and trying to leave it on good terms. Yeah. Than you do giving that person a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
I just feel like that never goes well. And I've done it many times and it's never gone well.
Yeah. Well, and I think also when you give them a piece of your mind at that level, it's almost like you're actually offering up a vulnerable side of how you actually feel. So I almost feel like you're giving them some power over you because you are handing over like, hey, you really hurt me, but it's falling on someone that really doesn't give a shit.
That's right.
So
they're not your friend.
You're going to feel 10 times worse that you even opened yourself up in that way.
Yes.
You might as well just keep it kind of corporate.
Yes.
And keep it surface.
And you've talked about that before on the podcast where you're like, we have to remember we're in the service business and these people are not our friends.
Yeah.
We may like our clients. We may get along with our clients. But most cases,
mess up.
Obviously this situation, like we're friends.
Yeah.
But you're typically not actually friends with your clients.
No,
and so
I think
you just can't.
Any transactional relationship, all it takes is someone not actually showing up on their side of the transaction and the whole thing falls apart. I mean, that's why people say like, be very careful doing business with friends or family or any of that stuff because it really adds a lot of stress to that relationship where the moment you mess up for that person, they're going to go right back to the client. They're no longer in the friend zone. They're in the client zone because they're paying you for something.
That's right.
So it's a very tricky line to walk. I think it is possible, but I think for most people, it's not a good idea.
Well, and like you said, you're offering up something very personal and deep.
Yeah.
If you are being really honest with that person about how they've made you feel. And to your point, they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
they're not prepared to receive that. They don't know that they've been in the wrong. You haven't prepared them for that.
I think that's the only time I would do business or take care of someone that's a friend or a family member because you have to know that they actually will hear you and they will actually change their behavior because they respect you that much that they're willing to actually take it seriously when you say, hey, I need you to change what you're doing. I need you to show up differently for me, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be receptive enough to that kind of feedback and not take it personally. And I really don't think most people can handle that kind of depth.
I think you're right.
So you might as well just keep it surface. And if you keep it surface, then you can't really be a friend with that person, in my opinion.
Now, I'd like to think that you could potentially sit down and be very honest and gentle and say, can I just share something with you? Mm-hmm. This has been really challenging. I love doing your nails. I love that you're so-and-so's mom. And I love that we have this relationship. And it's really hard for me when you don't book. I mean, you could even try to approach it through that lens. Yeah. But again, I just don't think it's going to be well received. I think especially if she's in a rush, like her mind is clearly in another place.
It sounds like she has squirrel brain.
Yeah.
So like if she has
how
squirrel
invested
brain,
is she really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard to even get her to sit down and really absorb that information. And hear you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she'll just hear a lot of like blame.
Yes.
I mean, I'm making a huge assumption.
I think you're right.
But I think it would come across as like a very like blame game thing.
Yeah.
And then she would ultimately be really butthurt about it. I don't think she would actually take that as honest feedback and be like, you know what, you're right. I should totally change the way that I run my life.
No, I don't think so.
Especially if she's a mom. That means she's older, which it's much more difficult for people to change their habits and behaviors at that point.
Yeah. I think you're better off to just try to find a way to get out of having her as your client anymore.
Yeah. If this particular person wasn't basically fully booked, I would be a little bit more like, do you need the business?
Yep, absolutely.
Do you want to work on this to keep the client? But
because listen, I've kept some clients that were really painful in seasons where I needed the money. Yeah. And that's where you just swallow your pride and you do what you have to do because it
pays the bills.
It pays the bills.
Yeah.
But if she's fully booked, like you don't need to be dealing with that shenanigans.
Yeah.
Pass her along.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, recommend her to somebody. Be like, hey, I think this would work better for your schedule. I'm getting to the point now where I'm booking
especially if you know somebody
really
who needs
advance.
the work.
Totally.
Then like you're doing a solid for a friend who needs to build their book and you're helping out your friend's mom who needs someone who's more available than you are.
Yeah. And I also think that this particular client, I don't think would really be that butthurt about it because it doesn't sound like someone who's really attached to the experience or to the actual nails themselves. It sounds like it's just like anything. It's like
anything will do.
Anything will do.
Yes.
I just want to get my nails done. Period.
Correct.
And I think that's really hard for these types of nail technicians. If you're one of those, like you were talking about, like boutique agency, right? It's like if you're that type of boutique service provider where you're not just a walk-in salon, you're not just anybody, right? It's not just like a different customer, a different day. It's an actual invested thing, and you're actually showing up and you're trying to make it special and you're trying to make it different. If people aren't receptive to that and they don't give you that kind of pat on the back for what you're trying to provide, I think that's like the most demotivating thing ever.
Girl.
Even if you're making all the money that you want,
yes,
when people don't actually go, wow, like this is amazing, thank you so much, and they're in it to win it, like forget, get out.
yes,
Like get out. And actually, we went to lunch the other day, and our first server, you could tell was like not in it to win it at all. Very nice girl, nothing really wrong, but like just not invested in being in the service industry.
sure.
And then she went on break or left or whatever, her shift was over, so she didn't even do the handoff where it's like, oh, I'm going to have Susan take over now, I'm actually leaving. Like, none of that. Just, like, ghosted us. And then this other lady shows up. And again, like, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, I understand how difficult service jobs are. I used to work in food service. I used to be, hosting, waitress, all of that stuff. And so I get it. But I was like, you didn't even do the handoff. Like, this is like a nicer restaurant. Okay, whatever. So this other server just shows up at our table. Susan, I think was her name. Amazing. Like, totally amazing. Like, actually cared.
You could tell the difference.
Was like asking us about, like, would you like, can I recommend something to go with your meal? Is there anything I could bring? She even brought us like little hot towels with lemons.
Oh, that's lovely.
Which, like, I've never had that at this restaurant. At Zinc Bistro.
Oh, nice.
You love Zinc Bistro.
I do love Zinc Bistro.
So Susan, that's probably not even her name, but I'm going to call her Susan. She was freaking phenomenal, but I made a point at the end. I was like, I just want to tell you you're really good at what you do. I've worked in service myself. I totally understand the service industry, and I can tell you really care about your job, and I can tell you're like really invested in making sure that everybody has a really awesome experience here, and you've made me have a very nice experience, so I just want to say thank you.
That's nice of you.
And she was like stunned, like she didn't even know what to say.
Yeah, nobody takes the time to say that anymore.
And I wish clients would say that more, like when you notice someone's actually making a concerted effort. The problem is you have people like this where they're getting kind of tread on.
Yes.
Instead of people recognizing it and going, damn, dude, like you are one in a million. Like you are actually rising to the occasion. You're actually making an effort. You're actually trying to make me feel special and do a good job for me. Like, thank you for all your effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, you're paying them, but the paying them isn't enough. Like, you have to really, like, be invested in the experience if you're going to go to something boutique like that. Otherwise, just go to the drive-thru or go to the walk-in salon or go to the whatever, you know. Don't go for the boutique experience.
I mean, use your words.
Yeah.
Our words are powerful, right? Like, words have the ability to completely change someone's day. So I think what it goes back to is what you said, like actually paying attention, noticing, and then opening your mouth and sharing that with somebody. I mean, how often, that server was probably stunned because how often does somebody actually take the time
to provide
to
feedback.
Say, just so you know, you're doing a really fabulous job, especially when someone's doing well. I think people are quick to open their mouth when it's not good.
Yeah, agreed.
But not quick to open their mouth when it's great.
Yeah.
And I think too, like as a nail tech, you can foster that environment for your clients. You can tell your clients how much you appreciate them. Like, hey, I just want to tell you how much I love doing your nails, and I appreciate the fact that you come back to me week after week. I love that you show up on time every single time.
You pre-book your appointments.
Yes. Like, I appreciate you.
You let me have some creative license with what I want to do on your nails. Even if it looks like mustard on a hot dog.
No, but I recently had a client that I worked with who I sent her the design, and I got bupkis, like total silence. And then so I followed back up with her. I said, hey, what do you think about the design? Do you love it? Are you happy with it? And she's like, send me the files. I think this is good to go. No, I love it. No, this is great. No, just no reaction whatsoever.
Really?
And it
couldn't even like pick out like one thing. Like, I love the color you use.
Girl, I even prompted her. I basically gave her a fill in the blank. Your design made me feel blank. Nothing.
Just give me some kind of adjective.
Nothing. She gave me nothing.
Yikes.
And I don't know if that's a little bit like cultural or just who she is as a person, but it just sucked all the wind out of my sails. Now, granted, she paid for the design. She paid me full price,
Yeah.
And I'm sure in her mind, she's like, girl, I paid you.
But
like,
you still
what more do you want from me?
You want to make people feel good.
Yes, I want
excited.
that moment of, oh my gosh, this looks amazing.
Yeah. And recognizing the effort.
Like our nails, you want your client to look at their nails and go, oh my gosh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
You know? Some kind of reaction, not just a, okay, bye.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because people are just inundated with, like we were talking about, like we're kind of overstimulated. So maybe because everyone's overstimulated, everyone's kind of like on squirrel brain mode where we're like not taking a moment to actually like stop, notice, provide feedback, interact with other human beings. Like we're just kind of like, whatever, give me my food, like get out of my face, and then I'm going to scroll on my phone.
Yeah.
I think that's really an interesting part of, I think, what has changed the culture. But it's I don't know, we're definitely in a zone where there's always been ungrateful clients. I don't think that is anything new.
Yep.
But I do think there's this new thing where it's like the client, I definitely think, like you said, should take note of when things are great so that the people who are trying to make an effort get that validation and then are remotivated to try again on somebody else instead of just having the wind taken out of their sails and then they eventually stop doing all of this because what's the point? No one even cares. And then I think on the flip side, when you constantly have the wind taken out of your sails, you also need to know what your limit is, which is like, at some point, I've got to get rid of these people who make me feel bad about myself. Otherwise, I won't be able to show up for everybody else.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
I think remembering the power that we have to be that change is important, though. Like, if that's the culture that you want to create.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to hear, if that's what you want to receive, then be the first to give it. And I mean, this is a lesson I'm learning, like, within my marriage. Like, if this is how I want my husband to treat me, then maybe I should treat him like that, if that's what I want to receive. But I think nail technicians, servers, we have the ability to create that experience for our clients. And if we create that environment for them, then I think that might give them more permission to give it back to us.
That's a good way to say it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to your point, we are all busy. We are all distracted. And and part of that is we don't take the time to like really connect with the people that we're sitting across from.
Yeah.
And if you take a moment as the nail tech to express that gratitude and create that space, maybe that'll create a ripple effect for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. You give what you want to receive.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you go get your coffee in the morning or when you go get your bagel at breakfast, like expressing that gratitude to other people, maybe that's
energy out there.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely think there's something to be said for like that subconscious energy that you exude.
Yes.
If you're exuding this almost like subservient, nervous, non-confrontational energy, people naturally are people who like to tread on others, whether it be purposefully or not.
Totally.
You're going to attract people who tread on other people, right? So if you're giving out kind of that weak energy, and not because you're a weak person, but just because maybe you're even just like flying under the radar because you're busy, but that can send the wrong signals where you inadvertently attract the type of clientele who are going to kind of take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
And so I agree. It's like if you kind of get onto a different channel and you're really taking note of everything, living in the moment, living more consciously, recognizing, providing gratitude, putting out that energy that you ultimately want to receive, I do think that kind of starts to change your vibe where you send different signals to people.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even know you're sending signals, but I definitely think everybody is. And so, yeah, it's like almost like practice it so that you're going to subconsciously change your vibe to others.
It puts you in a position of control. Where it's like you are now in control of the energy. You can't always be in control of the energy you receive from others. I mean, you can control kind of how much of that you actually internalize.
Right.
But I think you can be in control of what you put out.
Totally.
But I also get, like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting being in the service business. It's exhausting serving clients all day long. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting being self-aware.
Being self-aware, having high expectations of yourself, having other people that have high expectations of you.
Yeah.
Being in a position where you feel like nobody gives a shit about you and you just have to show up and do it whether they care or not, right? Like that can be a very draining space to be in. And I think that's where like taking control of how you want to show up in that environment can help counterbalance that draining feeling that you can sometimes have.
Yeah.
of feeling like you're at everyone else's beck and call. Well, if you're coming into it with the energy that you decide, I feel like that helps flip that script a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Makes you feel like you have more control over your environment, your
life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And also, like, what we were talking about earlier is, like, if you feel like you're happy with the job that you have done, I actually think that that's a lot more important than if other people are happy with the job that you've done.
All day long.
Yeah.
Because to your point, you can't always control the client's experience.
Right.
You can do it the best set of nails you've ever done, and if the client's having a shitty day, which many people are having crappy days.
Yeah,
we don't know
now.
what people are carrying. Yeah. You can do the best set of nails you've ever done, and she's still going to be upset.
Yeah, you're just an innocent bystander.
Yes, absolutely. So I think
that
makes all the difference.
This lady might be like that too. Maybe she just has a shit ton going on, and you just happen to be the person that is one more, innocent bystander that she's just not really paying attention to how other people feel or whatever. I mean, she could be just a completely insipid individual. I don't know.
Also possible. Or sometimes, like, because it's friend of a friend, like, oh, you're my daughter's friend. You take it for granted. She might be taking you for granted, yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I agree. It's like, how far are you going to push it? Are you really going to go that deep with the conversation?
Absolutely
over a
not.
Set of
not
nails?
worth it.
Probably not.
Not worth it. Not to mention the amount of sleep you might lose over trying to plan out your words and how to approach it. Like, it's not worth your energy.
Yeah.
Pass her off to another person and move on with your life.
Yeah, I agree.